Welcome to a brand new season of AUDL Weekly. Yes, we are back building up to the 2022 AUDL season, which in many ways has already begun with tryouts, practices, and overall focus on getting ready for opening day, which is now less than 2 months away. The hype will only grow between now and then, so if you're new to the program, my name is Evan Lepler. The upcoming AUDL season will be my 8th broadcasting for the league, and I'm not even including the 2020 season that never happened because of the pandemic. I've been fortunate to be a part of every AUDL season since 2014, and AUDL Weekly, this show, which debuted last year, I'm excited for the second full season to bring this show to you, dedicated to ultimate stories, perspectives, conversations, and more. So much more. So coming up on today's season premiere, our esteemed duo of disc debaters, Adam Ruffner and Daniel Cohen, are back to dive into some of the league's biggest topics as we march toward opening day and think about the upcoming season that's ahead. But first, after a long winter, it sure is a beautiful day for a toss. Some of my personal thoughts on the offseason, free agency, and what we can expect going forward as we launch a new season of AUDL Weekly right here on AUDL.tv. All right, welcome back. Let's dive right in with how the league looks different now than it did last September when the Raleigh Flyers beat the New York Empire in 1916 in the 2021 AUDL Championship game. For starters, the Raleigh Flyers changed their name. They're now the Carolina Flyers, which I'm still getting used to, but it makes sense. They now match some of the other pro sports teams in the state, like the Panthers and the Hurricanes. 2 other teams in the league, though, also changed their names from 2021. The San Jose Spiders are now the Oakland Spiders. The Dallas Roughnecks have decided to rebrand as the Dallas Legion. Most interesting aspect of all this might be the fact that all 3 of these franchises are former champions. I don't know, maybe there's something in the water after winning a championship. Each team obviously has their own reasons for rebranding the way they did, but it is a little strange that the AUDL champs from 2012, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2021 all either don't exist anymore or have a different name now. But historically, this is not all that uncommon in sports, especially for a league that's in its relative infancy. I mean, go back to the start of Major League Baseball. The Boston Americans, the New York Giants, the Philadelphia Athletics all won the World Series in the early 1900s. And in the early 1950s, the first 4 teams to win the NBA title were the Minneapolis Lakers, the Rochester Royals, the Syracuse Nationals, and the Philadelphia Warriors. So through that lens, I guess it's not all that weird at all, I suppose. Certainly more meaningful than the changes to the brand names and the teams, the reality that 3 brand new expansion franchises have entered the league. They're all in the West Division: the Colorado Summit, the Portland Nitro, the Salt Lake Shred. Those 3 teams joining San Diego, Los Angeles, Seattle, and Oakland in the new look West Division. And it's a division that really should be tremendous. Each team playing a balanced schedule with 7 teams. You play 1 at home, 1 on the road. That's 12 games total. And there's an opportunity behind the defending champion San Diego Growlers. 2 additional playoff spots very much up for grabs. The expansion teams will have a real chance to be competitive immediately. So it's going to be fun to see if any of the new teams go against each other early and how the established teams fare against the expansion teams. I think it's fair to say that expansion might just be the biggest news of the AUDL offseason. Now, as for who's going to be playing for who, there's a lot we already know. Big names like Jay Frood signing with Colorado and Salt Lake, adding a bunch of former experienced AUDL talent with the Spiders, Breeze, and Cascades, among others. In divisions beyond the West, we've had big news like Abe Coffin signing with Minnesota, Antoine Davis joining New York. If you missed some of that news, the AUDL.com has chronicled everything, and frankly, there's too much to run through it all right here, right now. So I'll save more details for upcoming episodes when we'll have time to go more in depth about this shifting landscape as we preview the upcoming season and get you set for opening weekend, which is April 29th, 30th, and May 1st. Quick timeout, and then Adam and Daniel make their triumphant return to AUDL Weekly. That's coming up right after this. We have brought the band back together for the first time in the new year. We welcome Adam Ruffner and Daniel Cohen back to AUDL Weekly. Gentlemen, I've enjoyed listening to Swing Pass all off-season long. That's the podcast Adam and Daniel host. And you guys are pretty conciliatory on that podcast. I'm looking forward to some contention between the two of you as we get into the season. First and most important question, Adam, any haircut this offseason or no?
Absolutely not. We don't do that on Swing Pass. We are all about the natural flow, as you can tell. And we still keep threatening each other with a possible haircut if one of us gets too out of line with one of our takes. So we'll see if you can agitate us to that level at some point in the coming weeks.
At some point this season, we're going to get a haircut bet. Daniel, you're open to throwing those locks on the line, right?
I'm open to it, but also like Adam, have not had a haircut in a couple years. And I'm not really looking to get one very soon. So, but we'll see. I mean, yeah, it's always on the table as a possible thing. Things could come to if there's a specific disagreement.
I'm just going to take our viewers inside the curtain. On a call last week talking about the season, Daniel shared that his hair goes down to his nipple. It's nipple length, in case you were wondering. Adam, not quite, but you're working on it?
Yeah, I'm getting there. It's older hair. Okay. It takes a little bit slower to get around, but it's coming. It's coming.
That's right. All right. We got a couple months until the season starts. Plenty of topics to debate. We're going to begin with over-under. Adam, I'll come to you first. We're jumping right to the deep end of the season. Over-under, 2.5 teams from the 2021 championship weekend making it back to championship weekend in Madison in 2022. Adam, what do you think?
You know, Chicago, San Diego, Carolina, and New York are all going to be contending for the championship weekend spots again this year, but I'm going to take the under on that 2.5. Since 2017, we haven't seen a repeat of two or more teams coming back to championship weekend. From 2016 to 2017, Madison, Toronto, and Dallas all reappeared in championship weekend. Since then, it's been kind of divisional chaos. Starting in the Central and in the East, you've seen kind of a displacement of the traditional powers in Madison and Toronto, with New York and Chicago and Minnesota kind of summiting their respective divisions. And I think you're going to see continued kind of disparity, or parity, I should say, in the divisional battles this year, especially with 3 new expansion teams out west. All due respect to San Diego and, again, all of the other teams that have been to championship weekend now, but there is so much new talent and so many new deepened rivalries heading into 2022. I think 2.5 is too high of a number to go over.
Daniel, what do you think?
I'm gonna agree on our first topic of 2022. It's hard to pick like specific teams that I think won't make it or will make it, but there's enough doubt collectively with those 4 teams. You have Chicago and Minnesota sort of competing for that top spot in the Central. It's hard not to like Minnesota as the favorites at this point with the offseason signings they've announced. And then Carolina and Atlanta, I feel like they went back and forth so much last season. The fact that Carolina just happened to pull out these super close wins, consecutively late in the season to get to championship weekend makes it feel like it's hard to repeat that. New York and DC feels like a toss-up. And then San Diego, like Adam mentioned, there's 3 new teams out west. We have no idea what they're going to look like, how they're going to challenge San Diego, but it feels like San Diego's time at the top of the West Division is a lot less clear this season than it has in the prior seasons. So there's just enough collective doubt. I'm going to agree and take the under.
I think it's responsible of you, but a little disappointing that you didn't say, like, San Diego, they're out, Chicago's out. Like, yeah, I trust New York and Carolina. But I respect the fact it's very early. You don't want to go out on too far of a limb yet.
We haven't seen rosters. So
going with the odds. Yeah, that's fair. All right. It's going to be a fascinating season. Topic number 2, Daniel, we'll start with you. New York's Jack Williams. Obviously, he's been a fantastic player in the league for both Raleigh and Carolina and New York. It feels like he's kind of coming into his own and ascending into that MVP conversation following an all-AUDL season. So 60 scores, goals plus assists, 60 scores over under in the 2022 regular season for Jack.
I'm going to take the under. I mean, 49 scores last season, 58 scores the season before. No one's doubting Jack Williams' ability, but his role in this offense just isn't one of those primary scorers. Like, he's never going to get to the Ben Yacht or Ryan Osgar totals, at least as long as there's no, like, primary go-to handler in the backfield, which is kind of the role he inherited last season. Like, he touched the disc even more last season than he did the season before, but ended up with fewer scores. So the fact they need him as that, like, reliable distributor in the backfield, and he's not the guy that really takes a ton of shots in the offense, and he wasn't getting downfield that much last season. I don't really expect his role to change too much. And it's exactly where they need him. Like, it's very good for the team for him to play where he's at, but scoring just isn't really in the cards for Jack Williams in this system. They also added Antoine Davis, Charles Weinberg. There's going to be more mouths to feed. So, I don't know, 60 feels a little high. I feel like 40 to 50 seems more realistic.
All right, Adam, I just want to make sure you'll cut that Daniel Cohen clip saying Jack will never reach that level of offense, right? Just to throw a little motivation. I know you're on top of that.
That's a soundbite for sure. Absolutely. I mean, did you also notice how quickly he started talking towards the end there? It was like he was trying to run away from the initial point. I mean, 60 scores for Jack Williams? Absolutely over. Take the over. I mean, I know that it's only happened once in his kind of 4-ish full seasons of play in 2018 when he also made an all-AUDL team. But if you've been listening to the Empire this offseason, one of their primary things that they want to be doing with their offense heading into 2022 is making Jack more of a downfield playmaker. They have added Charles Weinberg. Elliot Chartok is back for a second season in the Empire offense after he did mostly phenomenally for them in his first year in 2021. I just think you're going to see Jack being a little bit more of that striker role and facilitating in a little bit more upfield with Yacht and Osgar than maybe he did last season. If you listen to some of the Empire podcasts, they've been talking openly about how Jack was sort of shunted into that backfield role. Obviously, he is excellent at it, and you want him finishing games for you in that backfield position. But I think for New York, their optimum role is putting Jack Field up into a playmaking space and letting him go get. So, yeah, over and Daniel.
How dare you doubt Jack?
It's nothing against him. I could not be more clear on this. It's nothing against him. It's his role in the offense. I won't be surprised if he exceeds 60 scores, but I don't think it's likely.
So one thing that, Daniel, I don't know if you were considering, but it is kind of an elephant in the room here. If Jack Williams makes the USA World Games team, which seems like a decent shot at this point for one of the world's best players, that could prevent him from playing in every game for the Empire due to practice and other competitive obligations with that. So that could take a game or 2 or 3 away from him. I was wondering if either you would factor that in. Daniel, I'm sure after the fact you'll say it was a huge part.
I like it. That was I was thinking the same thing. I didn't want to ramble on too long. So thank you,
Adam. I appreciate the heads up, though. I've had those Empire podcasts in my queue and haven't listened to them yet, but I'm looking forward to it because there's some great guests. A lot of good Ultimate podcasts out
Shout
there
out
right
Dan
now.
Hilton.
Okay, topic. Yeah, shout out Dan Hilton. Topic number 3. There are 3 expansion teams in the West Division: the Portland Nitro, Colorado Summit, and the Salt Lake Shred. And we think all of them are going to be competitive. We think all have signed some really good players already. So over under 1.5 players on the 2022 expansion teams that will make either first team or second team all AUDL in the 2022 regular season? Adam, it's a little convoluted, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
How many players on those expansion teams have a shot to make all AUDL? Over under 1.5.
At this time, having not necessarily seen full rosters yet, with final decisions still yet to be made, I'm going to be taking the under on that line. I just think as good as the new talent will be on those teams, and even some of the names that we do know, Salt Lake signing Jordan Kerr and Garrett Martin and Joe Merrill, Colorado bringing in obviously Jay Frood, as well as supposedly some other AUDL veterans. I love some of the rookies that are going to be playing for the Summit in 2022. Portland has some really interesting pieces that they've signed, but a majority of their roster isn't announced yet. We don't quite know yet, and I think with the amount of returning talent we can already expect in the league over, it's just hard to really finalize those 14 spots out of 3 rosters we're not quite familiar with. We're not quite familiar with how they're going to play together too, right? We know who Jay Frood is. We're not sure who Jay Frood on the Summit is yet. So I'm just really interested to see how those teams kind of gel in these first few weeks coming up.
Very subtle doubting of Jay Frood there. Just marked it down.
Yeah,
Daniel,
yeah.
What do you think?
I'm going to take the over. I think just because I want to root for it. I mean, Jay Frood, I think of all the signings that we've heard of so far, he feels like the most likely to make one of those all-AUDL teams if he can stay healthy for a full season. He clearly has the experience, has the playmaking ability and athleticism. He's also one of those vets coming into this new expansion team where I feel like they're gonna need to lean on him a lot, so I could see him putting up big numbers. And then Jordan Kerr, I could also see him making it. I mean, he had a phenomenal rookie season with the Spiders last year. I could see his role growing from what he did last year too, just being on this new expansion team. He's going from rookie on a pretty young team, but still with a lot of vets, to now he's like one of the vets on this team. So like Jay Frood, I could see them leaning on their guys with AUDL experience, especially early on in the season. And then as far as Portland goes, I really know the least about them, but I've heard rumors they might have some playmaking offensive players signing with the team. So I think I want some stars to emerge out west. I want them to push San Diego. I think it'll just be good for league narrative if we get some all AUDL talent on these teams.
One name to throw out there is, it's super early and not fair to him, but Alex Atkins, who signed with the Colorado Summit, played with the University of Colorado. He was one of the best 2 or 3 players in the men's division at college nationals. Just an insane highlight maker. Has the throws, has the size.
The spikes.
Certainly will be one of Colorado's best players.
The spikes,
and
too.
the spikes. Yeah, which we'll see if that converts into the pro level. I got a hunch it might. All right, interesting. Those teams are going to be fascinating to watch early in the season. How about opening night of the season, April 29th? You got the Raleigh or Carolina Atlanta game. Throw $1 in the jar every time you say Raleigh. And then Salt Lake in their debut at San Diego. I almost was going to ask, maybe we'll talk about it before the season, toss up, who you got, Growlers or Shred. San Diego's at home. It feels easy, but that Salt Lake team, the roster is going to be very interesting. Let's get to topic number 4, and let's pay tribute to the all-time leading scorer in the history of the league, who retired before the 2021 season and then came back mid-season and now is back and seemingly full bore, ready to go, dedicated as he's always been. So over under 42 goals, a modest 3.5 per game in the 2022 regular season for Indianapolis's goal-scoring king, Cameron Brock. Daniel, you're first.
Ugh. It's going to sound bad because I also am doubting Jack Williams, but it's not about the player. I am taking the under. I think 42 is a little high. It's not about the player. It's about his role in the specific system. Cam Brock isn't the same, goal-scoring, one-dimensional player as he was before. I think his role has grown to the point where he's a lot more involved, closer to the disc now, as one of those veterans in this offense. And I also feel like there's going to be some element of, because he's probably close to retiring, even though he's retired and come back, some element of ushering in the new era of AlleyCats. I feel like that might mean a slightly more, leadership type role rather than like on-field playmaker. So I could see him taking a little step back there. I still feel like he's gonna get his goals. Like in the 4 games we saw last year of him, I think he averaged 3 goals per game, which seems pretty realistic. I also don't know how many games he's gonna play, if he'll play the entire 12-game season. Obviously only appeared in 4 games last year.
Hedge.
Yeah, there's enough doubts on my mind. I'm going to take the under, and I'll put him at like 30 goals for the season. That seems like a good number.
Adam, I'm guessing you're not going to agree.
Actually, I am. No,
really?
It's because of Indy's offensive system. If you go back to their 2019 season, which was their most successful year, Cameron Brock scored 38 goals, and they used him a little bit more as a facilitator around the end zone. He only finished with 10 assists in that season, but let's go to 2021. In 4 games, he had 10 assists, and compared to his 1,100 receiving yards, he had 700 throwing yards. Nearly half of his total yards in 2021 were throwing. I'm not doubting Cameron Brock's scoring potential so much as I think that you see him become more efficient and you see the AlleyCats offense become more potent when he's in a little bit more of a striker role rather than his traditional pure finisher, score it every time, goal legend. So I'm taking the slight under on 42. Again, I think it'll be probably like 30 to 35.
We'll talk more maybe on next week's show about the AlleyCats re-adding Keegan North back into the fold. Mm-hmm. But I'm surprised neither of you mentioned his return and potentially making Brock more of a downfield threat as Keegan takes on more of that hybrid role that he had a couple years ago. But we'll see. I'm surprised you guys both went under on Cam Brock, who scored like 80 goals in a season.
Big Trey Dines year.
Big Trey Dines year.
It's a different Cam Brock right now.
All right, different Cam Brock, perhaps. I'm not believing, but same vibe with Over Under, and it's great to be back with y'all. Look forward to seeing one of you guys blow all that hair due to a stupid bet in some argument at some point during the season. Adam and Daniel, thank you for your time. Good times. Look forward to hearing the next episode of Swing Pass. Gentlemen, we'll talk to y'all soon. AUDL Weekly will continue right after this. Here it goes. This is for the game. It's caught! Jack Williams takes it down! Throw of the game. Poletto hits high. He's in the end zone. Like that! DC's won it in double overtime. Matt Smith. Oh, goodness! Who will win it? Miles Cooper! Miles Cooper! Oh my goodness! In Marquez Brownlee's area, and he swallows it up. Now Fairfax looking deep. He's got Mitchell, but an enormous layout block! Taylor throws it deep, not really anybody cutting. Holzmeyer trying to turn on the Jets late. Holzmeyer denied by Yacht, who gets the clean block this time! Graber's got company, and what a catch! And what a catch! To the end zone, Little with the diving snag for the score! This is going to get to the end zone. Championship weekend on the line, and the disc is caught! The New York Empire are going back to the championship weekend! That is going to do it for tonight's abbreviated season premiere of AUDL Weekly. More interviews, information, and the return of Matt Smith's amazing Upline and Out of Bounds segment coming up next week here on the show. Hope you're getting excited about the AUDL coming back. Season opener is 50 days from tomorrow, if I've done my math right, and I'm assuming you're watching this on the premiere date, Wednesday, March 9th. By the way, if you're interested in reliving the 2021 season as a way to build up to the new campaign, you can watch every single episode of last year's AUDL Weekly series. That's 25 shows, all still available on demand on AUDL.tv. Feel free to go watch them all and keep track of what Adam and Daniel got right and what they got wrong over the course of the season. That would be pretty fun if someone went back and held them accountable for some of the takes that might have just barely missed the mark. For now, after encouraging all to go after those guys, I do want to thank both Adam and Daniel for being a part of the show. Looking forward to the conversations with them each week. And also, big thanks go out to our editor extraordinaire, Luke Johnson, who I hope is rejuvenated and ready for the grind of another Ultimate season. Lastly, but certainly not least, thank you for watching the 2022 season premiere of AUDL Weekly. I'm Evan Lepler, and I'll talk to you right back here next Wednesday.